No.
Okay, so at this time, just for the election, we'd like to do the declaration of conflict of interest of trustees. An email was sent out as well as just some other kind of clarification pieces around conflict. So I don't remember how we started it last time, so I guess we'll just start with you, Helen.
Thank you. So according to the latest document that was sent out by BCPC on October 8th, I have a conflict that's in the yellow zone because my daughter and son-in-law both for the BCG in the BC Nurses Association.
I wouldn't be currently in conflict, but my daughter does work for BCG seasonally next summer again. So I would be in conflict with BCG.
In conflict. And conflict and conflict.
Like a conflict.
I have a spouse that's a teacher. I'm part of BCGU. And I'm the executive for BCGU. A little bit of conflict.
I'm in conflict. I have a daughter that is with Northern Health, and I also have a daughter that works for School District 60 on the list. So I'm in a red zone.
I'm assuming there's a green zone too. I'd be in that now. My mom recently moved from a unionized position with Northern Health to a non-unionized position, so she is no longer at conflict of interest.
I am not in conflict.
I am in conflict. My daughter works for School District 60.
Okay, thank you, everybody. With that in mind, we will move on to the election of board. On the back here. Move on to the board elections. So we'll start with the board chair and then you can be done with my stumbling here. So we will start with nominations for board chair.
I got it.
Stevenson.
Oh, take mine.
Again, thank you.
Yeah.
Yep.
This is for nominations of board chair.
Anybody got an extra pen?
Here.
But I can't email it. Here we go. Thank you.
Yeah.
Once you're done, just fold them up, please, and we'll come around and collect them. This is just for nominations. Thank you. We'll be back momentarily.
You just get to talk now.
Yes.
If you'd like to.
We'll go down.
Okay. Well, have you heard? Ida, I was so happy to see you. I was going to the Remembrance Day service the other day and I was thinking of the time my granddaughter was in Donald Lee Cooper's class in grade 2 and those little kids went to the Remembrance Day ceremony in Taylor and recited in Flanders Fields. Yeah, Brandy now is a student at Camosun College in Victoria. And so she's eventually going to do sonography. So I thought I would let you know. Donnelly's legacy still goes on.
Yeah, they always did it for class.
Okay, so we have 2 nominees for board chair. One nominee, Helen, will you let you? Yeah. The other one is Madeline. All of the time.
So
Then we don't have to do an election. your
Hard fought battle.
board chair for this year is Helen Gilbert. Now, Helen, I will hand it over to Helen.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Right. So we're moving on to election of vice chair. And if you could put the nominations down, please.
You know, trustee.
He wants to get her.
Wednesday, 14 days or something. Tell you what, I can, because I can.
Yeah.
Eight to raise.
Okay, there are three nominations for vice chair. One is Nicole Gill. Can you get your name stand?
No, I'll be quiet.
Bill Snow. Will let his name stand. Madeline. Madeline will let her name stand. So we will now vote, and your two candidates are Madeline and Bill.
On Zoom, who's watching us?
Nobody.
Oh,
It's recording.
Being recorded though.
oh, I see. I thought maybe some members of the board were away or the public is on.
No, we're all here.
We're all here tonight. Sometimes we
Yeah, I
do.
thought so, yeah.
So if you're bored later, you can go home and watch.
Yeah,
Insomnia kicking in.
that's right.
So for me, in case I need to review anything.
Yes, it would be.
Yeah.
Sure thing.
So our new vice chair is Bill Snow. Election of provincial councillor now, and the duties for provincial councillor were part of the package that was previously out.
Okay, I want to get my.
Next time.
Oh.
I'll make it.
I can imagine the patience of making those flutes,
To make them, to get the pitch right.
to get the pitch right, yeah. And the little thing, they were adjusting that.
What did they call that?
Bird.
Birdie. So how would they have hollowed it out? Like I can see
Just
something on the outside,
a
but
big chunk of
They
wood.
probably would have used it with a lathe.
So I was curious if they would use power tools or if it was just all hand done.
Yeah, it wasn't
I
clear.
think a lot of skill.
No, they were too smooth.
Right.
Yeah.
So nominated for provincial council is Ida Campbell.
No, I got to be it this year, so I'd like someone else to get a chance to do it.
Madeline Lehman,
I'll decline that one.
Bill Snow. Okay. Thomas Whitten,
No, because it'd probably be alt.
okay. And Nicole Gillis.
Yes.
Right, so we have both Nicole and Bill for provincial councillor.
If you have future in dealership for Stephen, you know, like when he retires from being superintendent, he could get a job in the, you know, dealing. Cards. Oh, I just realized, I meant, it is.
And while you were gone, we planned out your next 20 years.
Did you?
Yeah,
Perfect.
You're gonna be a car dealer.
Scrutineer.
There you go.
So our
No one to
provincial
hold him.
councillor is Nicole Gillis. And so now we're moving on to alternate provincial councillor. Three people for alternate. Bill. And David. And myself, and I'll say yes, so we have a vote for three.
Ellen, David, or Bill?
And our alternate provincial councillor is David. Thank you. moving on to the election of our BCPC rep, and that cannot be anyone that's in conflict.
Short list.
Longer than it would have been.
Yeah. Yeah, that's very. Perspective.
Madeline and
Thomas. One's gonna be the rep, one's gonna be the alternate.
Yeah, gonna be the rep.
All right, so I have a nomination for both Madeline and Thomas. Thomas, will you let your name stand?
No, thank you.
Madeline, will you let your name stand? Right. I declare Madeline elected. Thank you.
We need to do a vote if it's
Yeah.
just me.
It's only Thomas can be the
It's
only.
only Thomas, so
Yeah.
Thomas, are you willing to let your name stand as the alternate
What happens if I say
BCPC?
no?
What happens if you say no is we go to BCPC and see if they will let somebody that's in the yellow zone stand, and it would have to be adjudicated on a case-by-case basis.
I'm good. I
That
was just curious.
must be happening. It's got to be happening.
Must be.
Yeah.
So that was a yes?
Each.
No. Yeah, chair calls for motions.
Okay, so could I please have a motion that the ballots be destroyed, moved by David, seconded by Madeline? All in favor?
Let's burn them, not shred them.
Hmm?
Let's burn, not shred.
This says destroy. I think I get to choose my words.
She'll choose her method of destruction.
Additions to the agenda are already done.
Additions to the agenda are done. So other duties, we have audit committee members. And Madeline, are you still willing to be the chair of our audit committee? Right, who else will serve with Madeline on the audit committee? David?
Can you tell me a little bit, like, what was the commitment of that last year?
About 3 meetings. About 3 meetings, and
We'd like more than 2 of us on it, right?
we need to buy the actual policy related to it. I can attend, but we should have 3. Right. Actually, everybody could attend. It's not, but there's a minimum that we need.
And if someone can't come, go, if they let me know, I can always go.
So the audit committee, like if all board members came to the audit committee, that's where decisions can be made. So that they're not, we don't have we would have the presentations, but the more, yeah, then everyone's not just seeing it at the board table, you're getting more, just, I guess, more in-depth view at it and the opportunity to ask more questions. You obviously have to ask them at the board table as well, but so everybody
As well.
is welcome to the audit committee. And I'd love to see it.
Well,
You get to
and
speak.
we had this year where we had the auditors do the presentation in advance of our public meeting, and anybody in there, it was a longer, deep focus, more robust conversation. We sometimes end up being in the position of having during a regular board meeting when there's lots of other business to do. And part of having an audit committee is, it is the ministerial expectation that the audit committee can bring recommendations forward to the board as a whole after they have met. So it saves some effort at board meetings through that. I had asked anybody if they, moving on to school liaison reps, I had asked anybody if they were interested in changing the schools that they are currently assigned to reach out and have a conversation with me, so I knew what the wishes were before we hit tonight, and nobody did speak to me. So I'm assuming that people are happy with it. Our school liaison assignments will remain the same. We had our presentation and delegation. We did that early. That was quite a nice way to start off our board meeting. Right. Moving on then to trustee engagement and celebrations. We'll start with trustee Campbell.
Yeah, I went to, 2 of my PAC meetings. I didn't go to one because of the road conditions, because it was later on in the evening. So I did let them know I wasn't attending that particular one. David and I went to the Taylor Remembrance Day with 3 international students. It was very nice. I went to the PAC fundraiser bazaar this weekend in Taylor. And I've went to DPAC, CPAC, and I also traveled to Vancouver for Provincial Council.
Trustee Gillis.
I attended the Remembrance Day ceremony with my daughter and one other student on the 11th at Hudson South. So I just asked the principal to put out an email to parents and kids if they want to volunteer. And I had a little girl volunteer. Her dad's a veteran. She laid out 4 wreaths for 4 different people. She was very. I also took some volleyball kids to Chetwynd a couple times.
Madeline.
I attended a conflict of interest meeting with the BCPC. Also went to Vancouver to the BCPC symposium. It was a very good 2-day, lots of information packed in there. And Remembrance Day I attended in Cecil Lake, which it seems to every year become a little bit bigger and it's lots of interest, so that's good.
Trustee Scotland Creek, Area 2.
My Remembrance Day with Ida and my exchange students down to Taylor. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Crowd was extremely good, really well attended. The girls were treated extremely well. It was something we really talked about afterwards. I did the DPAC with Ida also on the 22nd and talked to Jeannie from 101. Yeah, with about what's going on there. She's very happy and very excited. Her other school's doing well. A couple of other issues going on at Buick that they can look into. We're slowly working on. And then I haven't been able to get a hold of Presbyterian lately. So she's been busy.
Trustee Snow.
Again, a little bit more. High school for a visit, over to Ambrose for a visit. Remembrance Day ceremony. Me and Thomas attended it. It was very well, very nice, great turnout. Lots of people this year. Doing good. Oh, and the other thing was, sorry, when we went over the committees and stuff, the policy.
Yeah.
If anybody wants to join me, please go ahead.
Policy Committees Committee of the Whole.
Yeah, but we have that meeting on the Wednesdays.
Sorry.
The Wednesday before the agenda meeting.
Oh, okay. You can give me a follow.
There's always an email that goes out.
There's always it's the agenda setting. It's the Policy Committee agenda is set at the same time as the other agenda. Trustee Whitten?
I was at the Remembrance Day ceremony, as Bill mentioned, here in town. Walked in the parade, had a very solemn time, but it was really nice to pay homage to the veterans. Was at a bonspiel with a large amount of the community this past weekend. And my oldest got his first hockey goal this week. So that is a stuff that I'm celebrating.
So on your behalf, I attended the North Peaks Administrators meeting. And I sat at a table and just listened to the conversation that went on as people talked about their day, and they had all had to do staffing juggles related to key EA absence. So just sitting back and listening to the conversation reminded me of the complexity of the job of school administrators. And I attended the Remembrance Day ceremony at the Cemetery, and I never knew that we could march, so that was new learning for me. I really appreciated the inclusion of the Montgomery students in the ceremony. They haven't always had students involved in the ceremony at the Cenotaph, and it was just a really nice connection. And I know from being in and around that our staff has worked incredibly hard in our schools to build students' understanding of why we remember and to thank for that work. Right. Moving on to item number 7 on our agenda, minutes of the regular board meeting of October the 21st, which is page 6 to 12 in your package. Please get a mover and a seconder, moved by David, seconded by Thomas. Are there any errors or omissions? On the question then, all in favor? And the one action item related to understanding ranking will take place on December 5th, so that schedule is done. Moving on to agenda item number 8, approval of the excerpts of the regular board meeting of September 23rd, which is page 13 in your packet. Can I get a mover and a seconder, please? Moved by Nicole, seconded by Bill. Any errors or omissions? Calling the question then, all in favor? Moving on to item number 9, announcements and reminders. You'll see that there are no trustees named besides Supak. I can go, but
I can go.
Are there any other additions to? um,
I have comments.
Yeah.
I have a comment about, I did let the band teacher know that as a board, we would be out of town. So I did let her know that I sent her regrets, because I love going to that when I can this year. And, also, I just wanted to mention in here, because of going to PAC meetings and being in the schools, how much the parents and the staff I've talked to appreciate that we've chosen to go out to schools for our committee days. So I've heard that, and I just want to share that.
Thank you. Right, anything, other things that we need to add? Moving on to senior staff reports.
Thanks, Evelyn. 3 items for myself. Number 1 is the HR summary report. Under education is the online superintendent report, which I'll review now. And finally, if we open up for a motion, please, for the out-of-district field trips. For my online report here, just a bit of an update for the board. We're looking at, as part of the initial support from the Ministry of Education around literacy, we're looking at a key resource called the Early Learning Profile, which currently Central Okanagan has a tool that it appears many districts are checking out, because it's quite likely down the road that there will be some kind of requirement around a more robust screening tool in the primary years for literacy. So we did have some funding for that, and we're checking out this particular tool. Currently, we have what's called the K-phonological assessment, which happens in kindergarten only. And it's about segmenting and blending and those kinds of things. But this is a bit more of a robust tool around reading as well as reading. Related to that, we continue to offer professional developments under the literacy for running records. And that's listening to the students as they're reading, verbal fluency, and then later on for comprehension. Under student learning, human and social development, just a reminder for myself as well as for trustees, it's a bit small, but you can make it bigger. Just in terms of some of the language in special education that we've moved to different terms. And so this is a nice reference as far as some of those terms when you hear them come your way. Also in terms of social and emotional development is our Diwali, of course, several celebrations around the district for that. This one was at Robert Ogilvie, where we had one of our teachers sharing her culture with the school. And even some of the senior staff were spotted around the district for Halloween in terms of having some fun and engaging with the students that morning. Under student learning, career and skill development, there was a really fantastic resources camp happening in Peace Island Park near Taylor, sponsored by COFI, which is the Council of Forest Industries, as well as Canfor. Even though Canfor is closing down, they financially supported this and are interested in continuing with this. And so I went and checked out some of the activities, which included orienteering, fire suppression, inventory of wood resources. And so that was a great experience for about 18 of our North Peace students. Under people development, a bit of a focus on support staff tonight. We have this number sense enumeration workshop for EAs, for support staff, because they're often with the students supporting them in the classroom, as well as there are conference opportunities, whether it's around autism, around special needs, and other areas for our EAs and support staff as well. Similarly, in terms of our people development, this is the district has been putting on the district dinner and dance for many, many years. It's really the only event where all cross sections and all staffs from any department can get tickets and come to celebrate it. So I encourage trustees to attend. There's only 200 tickets available. The cost per person of $35 represents about half of the actual cost of the meal. So this is sort of sponsored and promoted by the board as well, to thank staff and to bring everyone together. Also, of course, a big topic for our board and for staff is around recruitment and retention. So you can see here, there were 2 sessions, one of them happening tonight, another one on December 10th. If you have any leads yourselves in your personal networks, please pass it on. There's another information coming up on December 10th. This is for the local teacher education program through Northern Lights College and SFU. Under Truth and Reconciliation at Duncan Cran, we had our ISSW along with some students celebrating Indigenous Veterans Day. And so they're making wreaths, they were making bannock and celebrating throughout the school. You can read a bit more there. Also, a bit of an update around the equity in action process. Chair Gilbert has provided some information as well. And so this process continues and they're getting closer to, they have the draft of their action plan and we're going to be hearing more about that. But it gives you some background in terms of the work over the last 3 years. So you can read through that. And finally, take 3, just some celebrations around the districts. Remembrance Day at Duncan Cran. And we've got Baldonnel also Remembrance Day, a video here from Ms. McEachran's class, so please check that out. And Key Learning, which is terrific, they have an online, virtual Remembrance Day. And so there were lots of people participating in that. 70 students were participating in that live. And so that's kind of neat that they offer it that way. That's my online report. And then as I say, there's the last item to break out promotions and field trips. And that is my report submitted.
Please have a mover and a seconder for Stephen's report. Moved by Thomas, seconded by Ida. Right, can we go through your report item by item? Let's start with the Human Resources Summary Report for teachers. Questions related to that?
So, we can start, Stephen. The personal assignments.
Personnel
Assignments, 1. Leave of absence, 4. Resignations, 1. So we're like in the negative there.
Well, not necessarily. Every hole has been plugged on the teacher side. What would be new?
Well, I mean, leave of absence is 4.
And 1 in.
He's thinking then there should be 4 new assignments, because what did you do with the 4?
Oh, I see. Yeah, and
Yeah.
that will probably be reflected in the next one. So it might just be a timing thing, Bill.
Okay.
Yeah. New assignments doesn't just mean plugging those holes. It can be a number of different things.
Yeah.
So we'll move to the electronic report. The K-12 literacy support and the early learning screening, is that going to have staffing implications?
See some more.
My understanding was that there was going to be, with the screening and implementing a new screening tool, you may need somebody that's out there doing that work in the district, which would mean they might not be doing work in the classroom. And so actually the number of teachers we need may increase out of it. Kind of asking.
Yeah, so it's a partial yes in the sense that we're always looking for additional support, including part of this money, for example, is being earmarked for extra literacy support coaching. But ultimately, similar to the K phonological, this would be eventually an in-class tool that the classroom teacher both assesses and uses in the classroom. But thank you for that in terms of initial support and capacity around making this happen, if that's the way that this will.
Because at one point, they talked about it rolling out earlier, and we got a lot of discussion about the staffing implications of it, and that it meant more.
And we would absolutely ask for and ask the board to advocate for continued provincial support if they're going to make this kind of requirement that all districts have the capacity to execute it.
When, and can we just go back, when this ELP tool, if we're looking at it, would there be a chance for us to see it? Because when we look at the data, district data, I think we've got an idea now about what the phonological looks like.
Yeah.
It would be interesting to know what expands this as to it and how
Absolutely. I have a copy and then I can make it available and in fact, maybe put it in the trustee office for a
Okay.
while. How does that sound?
Sounds good.
I gotta say,
Yeah.
that just on your last one there.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. So my brother fits into one of those categories there, and you're never really sure how to explain it in a way that's not demeaning. So I can appreciate that.
The other term that's
Me too,
being used.
because I struggle too.
The other term that's being used a lot is neurodivergent. And so I'm was expecting to see that there, but it's not.
Good point. And it was actually, there was a lot of strong advocacy from families with disabilities and diverse abilities that the term disabilities was kept. And it has to do with their ability to advocate for financial support as well as other supports for their kids.
Well, with my North Peace Ride for the Disabled hat on, I've been saying we need to modernize our language, but it's a huge thing to do in terms of Societies Act and your history and everything else. So I went, okay. Don't have to jump on
Absolutely.
that.
Absolutely.
We could ask that this memo be posted somewhere. Like for the availability for people, like, staff to see, it'd be nice.
This, well, it is posted here publicly
Yeah.
on my report and that will be sent out to all staff.
Yeah.
But we can also make sure that it's, archived somewhere. Just remind trustees that the titles now fall under the board strategic plan. So that's why it's student learning and then the categories that came from the framework. Similarly, people development. Yeah.
Does anybody remember what date Sharon wants to know from us, whether we're attending the Christmas dinner? Because that impacts the tickets available because they're holding seats.
I
So
think they're open to general, well, now I think.
I feel like it's over, or like her date was already passed.
Doesn't mean you can't if they're still available, but.
There are still some available, so certainly please just, thank you for that, Helen.
Yeah,
Please
very
connect with her.
much.
Yeah. As soon as possible. And I will remind you that, including myself, even though I buy a ticket, trustees cannot win themselves the prize because it's provided as a.
And I will do some kind of door prize on behalf of the board.
Nice. Thank you.
Really hoping there's lots of interest in here.
Indeed.
Calling the question then on that part of Stephen's report. All in favor? Moving on to the pull-out motion related to out-of-district field trips. Many of which have passed and we are retroactively approving. Did I get a mover and a seconder? Moved by Bill, seconded by David. Any questions or comments? I just wanted to, on the Hudson Hope one.
Yep.
One day tournament leaving, all players are driving with their own parent. Clarify, in that situation, we were probably over the number of vehicles on the road. Are those parents, when they're transporting a student or something like that, does the district insurance and it covers that situation?
Yeah, we can come back to you on that.
Okay.
If you'll recall, there have been some occasions, depending on availability of transportation and those kinds of things, where we're not going to provide any transportation, and then parents are responsible for getting their child there. Now, so that's kind of like a gray area as far as we're not going to officially provide transportation or sort of include it as part of the policy. Parents, get your child to the event. But we will double check on that and get back to you in terms of those two ways to get there.
Well,
Right.
there's that concept of insurance
Understood.
is, I just would like that clarified.
Absolutely. Our ST will be happy to get back to us on that.
Well, I was in a situation once and that clarification is really important.
Thank you.
All right. Calling the question then, all in favor? I do appreciate the fact that we know, I just would like that.
You bet. Thank you.
All right, moving on to the Secretary Treasurer's report.
Thank you. For my report this evening, I have a finance update to October 31st, 2024, and the first. That is my.
Did I get a mover and a seconder for Angela's report? Moved by Nicole, seconded by David. Sorry, Madeline. I'm having trouble. Okay, Madeline, I'm looking at Madeline and I call her Nicole.
As long as you're answering, Nicole.
As long as you're answering. All right. Discussion, HR report. Any questions for the Secretary Treasurer on our HR report? Move on then to the financial report.
Can you, just a little explanation on the childcare fee?
Yeah.
So we're receiving it all in one lump sum?
So the childcare fees are, those are the fees, the parent payments that we're getting. Through the audit last year, we had them in Fund 60 and now we have put the fees in operating. So that's why there was nothing in the preliminary budget. So that is for July and August when we run our summer program, and then the first two months of the year. So that is for before and after school care. Any parent payment we receive and any ministry top up like the CCOP. Please don't ask me what that stands for. I will Google it quickly if you do, but the fact that I remember the alphabet soup of early learning. So that's why you see 0 there, because it was still in. At the time of the.
So if this is so, oh, I see, that's like 100%, wow.
Yeah.
Because, but there's gonna be
It should be
continued,
zero.
there's gonna be continued coming in, this number will go up as we move along in the year.
Yeah, and then once we get to the amended budget, we'll have a revenue amount in there.
Okay.
So that's what we've collected in fees at this point.
And all of the expenses for all the staff, for all the childcare programs. Now, the childcare programs are the B4s, seamless day. They're shared. Part of the costs are in here, part of the costs are in the special purpose fund. Accounting.
But that isn't reflected, it's strictly what's coming in. Your expenses for staffing, all that, that's gonna be reflected somewhere else.
There's a portion reflected, so all of the before and after school care is reflected down below,
Oh, okay.
as well as the preschool is reflected down below. And then once we get the before and the seamless day, we'll have to figure out when we get to the end of the year what has to be reflected in all of we will be able to project that.
So
Clear. Do you need
It is
further
kind of, because I mean,
clarification?
the whole idea had been that this, oh, we're gonna use the term net zero, but
It could,
it
yeah,
could, by the time you've done the whole, like I said, once it's all sorted out at the end of the
Yeah.
year, we'll see where we're at.
My question, when we look at the concept of Ministry of Education grants not coming in, I just wondered whether government transition and elections and things like that has slowed down from the funding coming in.
I did look last year, like, it's kind of we don't get full funding until, like, the 1701 finishes September 30th, then it takes a month to process, so we should be seeing reflective funding by December 5th. So all through the summer, the funding is reduced to like a less than probably a third of what we normally would get. And then September is still low, and October kind of comes into alignment with regular funding numbers. So I get that the 1.5 million at the bottom is concerning, but it's just really about timing of funding.
And when you look at interest rate, I'm wondering if needs to be a different figure there, because you say interest rate is approximately 4.45% for October versus 4.45% in August, so.
Should be.
Okay, so.
I just, I don't get a lot of questions during this, so I just have to see if you're paying attention. So thank you, Helen, very much.
How did we do?
Everyone's doing a wonderful job.
He's still like it's in the.
And the interest rate is falling, so
That's what I.
hopefully that 600 is achievable still.
I have one. I'm sure this has been asked before, but can you give me an example of a rental revenue? So it says Indigenous rent and Swiss rent.
Yeah, so we charge, those programs pay monthly rent. They don't pay, but it's an entry that we make for use of the space because they're kind of independently run from the school district. And also we rent to the YMCA's for all the childcare, as well as Baby Bear and Totem Preschool.
Okay, so Swiss is out of Robert Oakley now, right? That's where their office is?
Yeah, they have the portable.
They're portable.
Yeah, okay.
We're not gonna kick them out if they don't. So.
Any more questions for Angela? She got off easy tonight.
That was great. Thank you, everybody.
She's inspired now.
Okay, calling the question and all in favor of Angela's report being accepted. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Moving on to reports of the regular committee of the whole meeting of November the 4th, which is page 16 and 17 in your agenda package. I just have a movement and a seconder, moved by Bill, seconded by Madeline, got the names right. Errors, omissions. All in question then, all in favor? Business arising, we do have the DCSTA survey related to student delegate attendance at annual general meetings. We can do it as under unfinished business now or do it under BCSTA. is the that has been done. All right, so, you were asked to, after committee of the whole, have a look at the document that, was circulated, and Ida has it in front of us. And the survey questions were attached to the committee of the whole agenda, but just to refresh your minds, I have a copy here. Get through and discuss. So for our audience, I will read out the questions that we're responding to. So, at provincial council, based on a motion put forward at AGM, where the board of directors of the BCSTA was asked to explore the concept of, actually you could pass on that there for you, David, student participation in the annual general meeting. The report was prepared by Mike Roberts that we looked at, and we have 6 questions to respond to. So the first one is, when considering safety, supervision, and liability of students at BCSTA AGM, what are some opportunities?
I'm gonna read that back. I feel some of the questions are worded a little bit funny.
Yeah, they are worded funny.
Cause I looked at that, I'm thinking, I don't see the opportunity, especially in connection with those words, but.
Yeah,
What?
yeah, they've worded each of the 3 that way, first an opportunity and a challenge, but the way it's worded, well, how can there be an opportunity when
There's
you?
no opportunity.
Yeah, it is weird, but
Would it be fair to,
This could end well, or very, very badly.
Yeah, like, is that what they
I'm
want
gonna
us to
put
say?
down poor question.
Well,
Well, that's what I just heard everybody say.
yeah, it's
I like
true.
it.
I agree, because to me, the next question is the question we can answer.
yeah, because there are challenges with the safety.
Yeah.
But
I
Yeah.
mean, in essence, I looked at what are some opportunities. I think it might be what are some positives, and all right.
like liability is never an opportunity, right? Like, it doesn't make sense.
One that I do see is getting parents involved. If the parents are required to be there, getting parents involved in their students' education, I think I see that as an
Okay,
opportunity.
yeah, that's a good one. Yeah. So if parents were required to supervise, then there's the opportunity for parental involvement. Oh, you're thinking, that must be what they meant.
That's right.
That's opportunity.
When considering safety, supervision, and liabilities of students at BCSTA's AGM, what are some challenges?
The first thing I'd say is the challenge is who's going to supervise them?
And then who's paying for it?
Who's paying for it?
Well, that's probably the next question, but
Yeah, it does
Yeah,
have,
it's
it's
the next one.
financial. But, yeah, so a supervision challenge would be if it becomes a parent that has to supervise, then it's not very inclusive. Because not every child would have the opportunity, because not every child can have a parent who can then supervise them. So you kind of end up maybe doing the opposite of what you hope, right? If you're trying to give everybody this opportunity, I don't know if you would be.
Then you're definitely not giving everybody the opportunity.
Right. Because I think that's the way it would have to be, right? As a parent supervise, unless you took a separate staff member to supervise.
And I honestly don't know. Yes, as trustees, we do our criminal record checks because we're in and out of schools. But we're not put in a position one-to-one of supervising. So I'm not sure it would be appropriate for trustees to be supervising, which then adds a whole nother layer of who is there attending AGM.
That makes you, trustees did talk about the fact that, yeah, that's not our role at the AGM, in a particular conference as far as supervised staff, Angela and myself supervising the students.
You know, it's hard enough for you guys to wrangle us.
And then the whole province.
It goes on.
Object.
All right. That's
Yeah,
a-
so I mean, and that's what, that
I'm
would
sure,
be
yeah. And as a trustee, I don't think even us with criminal record check, like I'm still, you know, like there's that
Yeah.
little coaching thing where I still need a.
Yeah, like it's not our role.
Facility, so it couldn't be us, it would have to be staff, so then I think you'd have to
And
bring
then
a whole
staff,
other
it's
staff
not
member.
staff's role either.
Not the senior staff that's there for the AGM.
Another challenge would be what age do you look at? What is reasonable? Is a 12-year-old reasonable? 17-year-old? Where we draw that line?
I think it should be somewhere further, our feet planted on it.
So 25?
Yeah.
All right, when considering logistics and financial considerations of students at BCSTA's AGM, what does your board see as opportunities?
Say it again.
Yeah.
I don't see any opportunities.
Yeah,
Financial.
wrong word, I think, but
We may encourage future trustees to be involved.
But this is logistics and financial consideration.
Yeah, like that's a good opportunity.
That's a good one for maybe
This last question,
the last one.
equity representation.
Yeah.
I guess financial, like, what if the student was required to fundraise for the opportunity? Would that be an opportunity to teach them about fundraising? It's the way it's worded,
Just
so
terrible
it's a
question.
strange word.
We're investing into our youth.
All right. So we'll move on to when considering logistics and financial considerations of the students at BCSTA's AGM, what are some challenges?
Tight budgets already, so where do you find the, like, for the financial?
And it's not equitable across the province. Like it would cost us way more to stand a student than one where it's held. It would cost BCSTA more money for the venues because of the amount of people. It would be more costly.
How many students do you take?
Well, and I think one of the things that we always, when we make a decision related to money, are looking at, I'm going to sort of bang for value for money. And the expenses involved of having students at AGM, what value is seen in them.
It's one of those things that in theory, it's a great idea. But practically,
well, and
if we were downtown Vancouver and, you know, everybody could jump on the bus and go there, it'd be a lot easier.
Another challenge I saw was being there and listening to people. The accountability for trustees, it's our job to go there and attend and make these decisions. And I heard trustees saying, oh, well, I'll give up my expense so the student can go. And that's not being accountable to who voted us in and who we're elected for and for the government and for the kids in the school system. Like, that's why we're put in this job. Like, we're accountable for it. And I'd hate to say, you know, I mean, I can see it. I can see some child wanting to go and you're really thinking, okay, well, I'll step back, but that's not us being accountable. And I see that as a challenge.
Something that we had said piqued my thought on the opportunity one previous to this. Maybe it's an opportunity to bring in a minor online presence when looking at logistics. So that maybe the kids don't have to be there for the entire thing, but maybe we can include them in some of the extra training sessions that we have or some of the discussions online.
you know what, to me, it comes actually down similar trail, because we're talking about this big event. We have a board meeting right here. I mean, if a student is not interested to attend here, then I don't really feel the need to send them to Vancouver either. Like, start at home and then.
Well,
That's my
there's different
personal
ways
opinion.
of getting student voice. The flutes tonight were a way of bringing student voice forward.
I also think that there's an opportunity to bring students to academies and to, especially academy, to showcase what we're doing in our schools rather than having them come to the AGM. Like, I think there's opportunity to bring students to showcase education and what they're doing. And I think that somewhere should be in here that, you know, we should have that opportunity. Like, for example, Bill said last week, he said, you know, I'd love to see our heavy duty project. Well, there is opportunities for us to go to the professional learning and saying, we'd like to showcase this.
So let's just say we did heavy duty, just picked up. Thank you for that. We flew them down in the morning to do the presentation. They stuck around for a meal and then we flew them home. That would be kind of, it's not a huge liability. They're not overnight or, I mean, that's just an opportunity. It's an expense, of course, but that's a great program and a great analogy to use that one.
But that opportunity already exists.
Exists already. That's not this is related to participation in our annual general meeting.
Motions for AGM.
So, you know, like, what I see is that I don't want to shut this down for whoever it works for, because it's a non-voting delegate, right? So if Vancouver wants to bring 20 students to sit there and listen, and those students are engaged, have came to their local board meetings, I don't want to stop that, because it's not going to cost Vancouver very much to have a student come down to the Weston Bay Shore, right? For us, yeah, it's bang for your buck. We don't have we don't really have something in place where we have students at this board meeting. So you're right. If you're not going to come and hear us here, then we can't afford to spend tax dollars paying. But so I don't want to say no to this and stop everybody. It just, I don't think it works for us.
We did at Provincial Council talk about, there are boards that bring students to the AGM. And they were going to clarify how, because there are some boards down there that have been bringing them for a few years now. And this wasn't to stop them. And the one thing that came out of that was it shouldn't put pressure on the regions that, like up here or even further north, they can't afford to bring students down thinking they have to bring students. Like, we shouldn't eliminate them from coming if there's some that want. And they have been bringing them. There has been students there already.
So if that's the case, and there already are non-voting student delegates, then what new are we discussing? Like, everybody doing it? Or just something in writing?
That was because of the motion that went through, yes.
Because it seems like it is already happening for the people that
And we
can
did
afford it.
say at Provincial Council, that was one of the things we did say. We need clarification on how to bring the students already.
It would
So
be for
somewhere
all
in
60
here, that
districts.
just,
Be for all 60 districts to bring students.
Yeah.
While there's a handful now, if this was even kind of officially opened up among metro districts, you're gonna get a lot of students. You still have to think about the logistics of your own participation in the venues that are currently booked.
Yeah,
And when do you end up with an overabundance of one opinion on a subject versus a diverse group of different topics coming to different youth from across the province? That'd be my biggest concern.
I just
because
feel-
region to region would be different.
Well, and if I may, as a staff, that a trustee has mentioned virtual options.
Yep.
Including, I think I mentioned before, if there were key questions that from a governance perspective came up, that they wanted to solicit some student feedback on. Staff around the province can figure out a way to get some of that input and then provide that virtual via video, via people going in via survey, for example. So just suggesting that there are virtual and representative methods that we can use for this as well.
Yes, I mean, yes, there is, but on the other hand, too, we do have a lot of technical issues down there, a lot of the time. Where we don't have enough bandwidth, or whatever it's called.
Well, fewer than we would have logistical issues of actually bringing them down.
All right, when considering equity and representation of students at BCSDA's AGM, what are some opportunities?
I would say engagement, like you definitely, it's a wonderful opportunity for the kids who want to do it, to be engaged in their education and board governance. Like as far as learning governance, learning what we do, there's definitely an opportunity.
When considering equity and representation of students at BCSTA's AGM, what are some challenges?
I think my comment previously would fit right in
Yeah.
there.
The
That
inequity
you
of,
get drowned
Yeah.
out by
It's
the
very,
larger
yeah,
areas.
it's very difficult to decide what would be equitable representation. And then there is the whole concept of neurodiversity. And who comes and who speaks and all of those kinds of things.
Yeah.
Some of the challenges also is, I know we're talking about students here, but what other stakeholders do you include then?
it's opening a bit of a can of worms.
Yeah, because like for now, if we have a motion going to AGM and it concerns that we really think that we want the parents' voice, we go to our DPAC and our PACs. If we want the student voice, we can go to our students here and we can bring the message back. But like, do we want to open it up that, like, when do you say,
Because you have to recall what it is. It's the British Columbia School Trustee Association AGM. So yeah, and is this going to allow them to speak at the AGM? They're non-voting. See,
No.
and I see a whole big problem there because I already think there's too much speaking happening. Like, we're rushing through motions, not last year, but like often you have, and you can see how that's going to work when, right now when you call the question and you're just upsetting like the 15 adults who try to talk, nobody's gonna want to shut down a student. If they're at the mic next, you'd be like, oh no, don't call it. There's a student up there, let him talk. Like I can foresee also. But like I don't see the time. I don't think, it just seems like I get the idea, but I don't see it being at the AGM. I see way more value at the trustee academy or just BCSTA coming and doing local things. If this is what they want, to encourage student voice.
Well, and I mean, one of the other concepts is if it is related to student voice, the question is, are there better ways to get student voice?
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, I will put something together that represents your thoughts and share and bring it back and submit it by the December 2nd.
Can I ask a quick question? So I know we were holding off for the strategic plan to be completed before we looked at bringing student voice specifically to this group.
Yeah.
Are we gonna start that ball rolling?
We have already started that ball rolling, Tom. We've been to schools, you listened to students. We had our presentation from our students that are visually impaired. You've had the flute tonight. So as a group, one of the things we will do is take a look at that governance pillar and further expand. But we served notice last year to staff that we wanted student voice and different ways to get it. So that was behind some of those things. Now, one of the things that we haven't actually done as a board, that would be something that we look at doing it at our advance, is probably all around this room, we each have a concept in our brain about what student voice means. But we have to have, I think, a collective vision of student voice and how we're going to get it. So that was why at the committee of the whole, part of our discussion was, how are you finding student presentation? You as a trustee, if there's something that you come across that you would really like to hear from students on, Stephen, myself, becomes an agenda item when we can track those students down to answer that. But I think we do at our advance have to have a discussion around what we're going to capture as student voice. If student voice is student feedback on a motion we're putting forward or student feedback on a policy, we don't have procedures in place to do that yet. Make sense?
And just add that it may tie into your previous item around BCSD provincially, some key questions that emerged from BCSTA around what you'd like to know, and that could actually drive the agenda around, because rather than, a whole bunch of different things going on, some consensus or even around what student voice is and what are the questions that people want students to talk about and bring forward, that would be helpful.
Especially like when we look at the concept that we want, hands-on experiences. Here's the hands-on experiences we already are offering within our school district. Where are the gaps for you as a student? What other? So there's certainly opportunity to ask questions related to student voice.
And I think even with, as we go to the middle schools and the high schools with our committee day, like we were at the elementary school, and I mean, I had great conversations with those little kids too, so I mean, that's,
There's
we
lots of
need-
avenues for
there's
student
lots of
voice.
ways of doing it.
Yeah.
And
I love hearing from the students.
the strategic plan last year, we deliberately went out and got voice from every single school and every single grade level. So that student voice is embedded in our current strategic plan and has driven some of the focus areas within our strategic plan. And now we're working on operationalizing some things. So having further conversation about what this board wants to see and understand in terms of student voice is work to be done.
Good.
I think. All right, moving on to done. Calling the question, all in favor? Yeah, carried. Right. Now, policy committee. Moving on. Just lost the page. We had some policies that were included in your package. We're looking at the first policy in 4006.1, support staff benefits. And we're looking for a notice of motion related to this policy. And the motion, could I have a mover for the motion that the Board of Education issue a notice of motion for the adoption of policy 4006.1 support staff benefits? By Thomas, seconded by David. Sorry, just a minute. Before Thomas, sorry. Thank you. Any questions on that? All right, so that will go out for notice of motion. We're looking at policy 4001 or 4011, benefits retirement. And we're looking for a deletion of this policy because it no longer is relevant and current. That the Board of so I need a mover that the Board of Education issue a notice of policy for the deletion of policy 4011 benefits retirement. Bill? And policy 4006.1. Letter to first aid, that the Board of Education issue notice of motion for the adoption of policy 5006.1, level 2 first. Ida. Next. Moving on into section 12 of our agenda. Other reports, BCSDA, Trustee Campbell, Provincial Council.
Yes, I went to Provincial Council October 25th and 26th. On the 25th, we had a presentation from the Climate Action Working Group. And on the 26th, we had oral reports from the Chief Executive Officer, the President, and the CVC. And the standing committees of Provincial Learning Committee and Indigenous Committee. And there was no motions at this particular meeting. We didn't have any motions come in. And And we also, on the 26th, talked a little about the BC Capital Working Group. And also, we did go through the questionnaire that we just went through. And if you want any of the climate action and the BC Capital Working, they're on the BC STA portal. And then for our academy, we will be going down Wednesday till Saturday of this week.
There's the council attached to that too, isn't there? Council meeting is out. Because sometimes they pass the
Yeah,
budget.
it's a very quick one.
Yeah.
So will you do that or me?
Good new one, it's you.
You're the new one, and it'll be for the budget.
It'll
Is
be
what
for the
it
budget.
is.
I just have a question for you, I don't know about that. What was, when you guys went through this survey at provincial council, was it similar question, like what we just discussed, or was it more?
Actually, when we first started, it was really, we had a problem with the room wanting to debate the motion because the motion was for BCST to look at this. So then we stopped going through the questions and we just had around the room talk. And it was very much the same as here. And like I says, we heard them say like, who's going to be responsible for the student? When is it going to stop? Like when do you, what stakeholders? And that equity of someone sending someone from the north compared to the south. There was a lot of talk about, a lot of them said we already bring students. And so we asked for clarification on, because they said, oh yeah, you can bring students. So BCS Day, we asked them for clarification for the boards that want to bring students. Like it wasn't to stop them from bringing them.
But I think there becomes a
And so-
number that we can have.
So that then they decided that the survey would go out to all the board chairs.
When is that meeting? Sorry. Day is that? Morning meeting?
Oh, she had this meeting already.
So, yeah.
No, but at the academy,
At
you're
the
asking
academy.
that,
What day
for
is
your
that?
breakfast.
I don't know, but they just, I don't know when provincial.
We'll get it in the agenda.
We'll get it on the
Can I
agenda.
join you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just
I'll look
looking
it up.
at,
I haven't got any.
I'm just looking at the schedule and I don't see it in the schedule.
They used to have it at the end of the meeting, but they've changed that because people leave. So now they have it earlier, they'll have it.
They give an early breakfast.
Yeah, and and what it is, it's a very quick 5-10 minute to just adopt the budget. At this particular one.
All right,
If I get anything, I'll forward it to you.
BCPC, Madeline.
We don't have an attachment, right? I was kind of like sending it to Leah. Do you have an attachment? No.
I put the new attachments on the.
You don't need to, because I couldn't see it. Oh, okay. I guess you guys have it. So you can read at your own leisure. It was very informative. I did leave some update, especially day 2 was, I think, probably mainly for members not in conflict. So no, you didn't get a report on that. But the AI was, I thought was very well done. So we did touch on the ethical and practical integration, and there was actually a hands-on workshop too, which was, I'm to the point. I thought you were going to do your report in a song version. We were taught all sorts of things. So, and I think keep your eyes or ears peeled probably for WorkSafe. There's some things coming down that will make things, I think, complicated for staff. It checked, one lady did a presentation on just minding the gaps. Where do we need to fill gaps? So it was all in all a very good. Oh, and recruitment and retention, they do have a new division. I guess the recruitment service division. that's gonna help, and they showed us a nice little recruitment video, which I think did not necessarily touch the north, but it was it makes you feel like moving to BC. How's that? So it was well done. And I think it's up to all of us to advertise the career and the education. It's a good, valuable for me to attend, and we did start the bargaining. The team met for the first time this morning, so that ball is gonna get rolling.
So recruitment attention, if I may, Madeline, they did a shout out to the rural and remote committee. And just as well as the work overall in the north for recruitment and retention.
So that bursary does seem to be in the works.
Yeah, and in addition to the sort of the current bursary for students doing their last practicum, we have a few students doing that. We've also set aside some money for that return of service contract plan that we've been talking about for a couple of years, and it's similar to the Northern Alberta Development Council. So I've asked for more information, and I've asked for us to be involved in that.
Thank you. And Board Pro D, well, our Board Pro D will be Academy, and we will ask that you bring something back to the next board meeting that really resonated. And it could be more than one thing. Something that you found very exciting related to what's going on and the information that we're going to get. And you're at Academy. So.
And we've set up that information is kind of Pro D, kind of part of your governance work, but on remedy coming up before the board meeting.
All right. Correspondent, I attached for your reference a resolution that was put forward at, can't remember what the acronym means, the Indigenous Education, not Indigenous Education Council, it's the provincial body and related to missing.
Union of BC Indians.
Thank you. It's attached for your information. Thank you for doing. Unfinished business. I don't have any new business. We're very excited to welcome Donna Bulmer as president of the PRNTA to give us an update from the PRNTA's perspective.
I get to talk.
No, to tell us.
Well, I didn't come prepared to give a talk because I didn't know if I could talk. So there we go.
We know you
Oh,
can
we know
talk.
we do.
Donna.
That I'd be allowed to talk about that. But anyway, it's just a pleasure to be here. I've enjoyed seeing people in action. It's nice to see new faces and some of the familiar faces around too. It's great. We have concerns and we have celebrations. We are very, very concerned, as you all are, I think, about the lack of certified teachers. So it's neat to hear this last about bursaries and so on. That's great to hear anything that encourages teachers to come to Peace River North and then stay here. So if we get people, we teachers have been talking the last few years about a term called retention and recruitment, because some of us folks that, have been around for a while, we like the idea that you might want to retain us at the same time as you're, we're trying to find new people to come in. So next time I'll have a report and I'll know more about what I can say.
Sure,
And
I can connect.
so
We
on.
can
Thank
connect
you.
on that for
Sure.
sure, but we're just
Thank
very,
you.
very pleased to have you with us.
Thank you.
And we don't have QP with us tonight, and we don't have anybody from our district parent advisory council. So we're at the stage where we're looking for questions from the press or the public that are related to agenda items. And yeah, that's the place that we are at. And if you're going to ask a question, we ask that you let us know who you are. Yes.
Hi, I'm Max from Moose Media. I'm the general reporter. I just want to, make clear about the board elections of everybody who was elected. Helen Gilbert was his board chair.
Bill,
Bill was chairperson and
Vice Chair,
Vice
yes.
Chair.
vice chair, right? Are you able to just go through the list right now?
Yeah. And the provincial counselor is Nicole Gillis. Our alternate provincial counselor is David Scotland Creek. Our BCPC rep chairperson is Madeline Lehman. And our alternate BCPC rep is Thomas Witten.
Thomas, who, sorry?
Witten, Witton.
Thank you.
But he was gonna do that for mine.
How long do all these positions, how long are all these positions out for?
It runs for a year. So next November at our regular board meeting, we will hold elections again.
All right, I'm assuming there's more information on all these positions that can be found on the School District 60 website?
And I can,
Send you the role.
we can send you the roles and what each person does, either Angela or I, or I'll send it to you.
Perfect, thank you. That's all I have.
Just make sure I have a card with your email on it.
Yeah, I'll give it to you.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Just a comment. Pardon me? Oh, Deborah Johnson.
We're happy to see your faces. We missed you.
It's been a while, yeah. I was on holidays.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Well, that was a long holiday.
Well, summer holidays, you guys got 2 months off and, well, Brew Garden. Yeah, but I got to go down south for a couple of weeks, so. Anyway, I was just interested, in regarding to the, Union of BC Indian Chiefs. I was wondering if anybody had seen the Fifth Estate, episode on missing men and women of Dawson Creek. It was, it should be in part of this. Like it really, I mean, it's men and women that are going missing. And Indigenous and non-Indigenous. So it's, I mean, this is, I'm focusing on.
Yeah, they were speaking specifically to
Yeah.
a resolution at their meeting.
Yeah.
And then they sent correspondence out to all districts, and when I get correspondence as board chair, it becomes shared with the rest of the trustees.
Right. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Anything else? All right. Can I please get a motion then to suspend the regular meeting and move into camera? Moved by Bill, seconded by David. All in favor? Leah, please pause the recording. There are no in-camera motions to be brought forward for implementation at this time, so could I please have somebody make a motion to adjourn our meeting? Moved by Bill, seconded by Thomas. All in favor? Thank you.
Thank you.